Last year, Texas saw more than 48,000 traffic crashes occur during the holiday season, which resulted in 433 fatalities and more than 1,000 serious injuries.
Yeah, and almost a quarter of the deaths were alcohol related. Joining us to share her story and more on the state's Drive Sober, No Regrets campaign is Erin Crawford Bowers. Erin, good morning. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, good morning. Thank you so much for having me today.
Erin, please tell us your very personal story and why this campaign is an annual holiday tradition.
Yeah, for us Texans especially, we see a big uptick in the number of DUIs and DWIs during the holiday season as people are out, having a good time, going to the parties, those sorts of things. And, the reason that it's so personal to me is, back in 1985, myself and my parents were hit head on by a drunk driver down in Brazoria, Texas. Upon impact, my dad passed away instantly. My mom had thrown herself in front of me as I was in a forward-facing car seat, and it killed her about 2 minutes later, and then I had permanent injuries as well. And so that's why it's really become my life mission to really give to this cause and bring awareness, to the dangers of drug and drunk driving.
So what is your message for anybody consuming alcohol during the holidays?
Yeah, absolutely. Right now we live in a world where there are so many different options. There really is no longer a reason to make that choice to get behind the wheel, and have the time to not spend with your families and things like that. There are just so many repercussions that come along with it. And so we ask that you just make smart decisions, go out, have fun. We want you to do that, but we also want you to plan ahead, because I think what people don't realize is once you start drinking, it impairs your ability to know when you're not okay to drive. And so people just tend to just get behind the wheel after they've had one or two, thinking they're going to be just fine, when in reality, they may not be and could potentially ruin someone's life.
Mm-hmm.
And really today, there's so many options now out there for rideshare companies. There's really no excuse to get it behind the wheel ever.
Absolutely, for sure.
I mean, we even have like tipsy tow around here. Like the tow trucks will like drive you home or tow you home. I mean, there's so many options.
Well, Erin, the cost of drunken driving, it goes beyond a fine. It goes beyond jail time. If you can share with us those everlasting effects for you and your families, for your family who was hurt by a drunk driver.
That's a great question. And I think that's what a lot of people don't realize. They're like, oh, okay, well, I'll get a fine, to go through the process. But the reality is, once you create that kind of trauma in someone's life, it really does have a ripple effect. My brother was 14 at the time, Guy Crawford, getting ready to go to high school, his freshman year. It was a big time in his life. And because he didn't get the resources, the support, everything that he truly needed, he was forever traumatized, had trouble keeping down a job and just his own mental health, which led to him taking his life last summer. And I think that's one thing that people don't realize is once this one thing happens to you, this one small, simple decision, it can impact so many different people around you and your family and their families. Even the person who killed my parents had children as well. And I'm actually in contact with his sons now, and all of the trauma that it's created in their lives. And I think that's what people just don't realize is all of the emotional toll that it takes on you, the psychological toll that it takes on you.
That's very interesting. Can you tell us a little more about that relationship with the children of the drunk driver that killed your parents?
Yeah, and so his oldest child was actually the same age as I was when my parents were killed. And so growing up, we lived in two separate towns, kind of led parallel lives, if you will. And then from there, we didn't really know each other, didn't have any contact. And, because of the power of social media, you could find anybody these days. So about 5 years ago, I reached out to him just to introduce myself, and just kind of let him know some of the campaigns and things that my family had been working on, because of this, and all of the good things that have come out of it, because there has been a lot of positive effects in the world because of this. And, we ended up creating this relationship because he had went through some of the same emotional tolls. It took a big emotional impact on his mother and then his father as well, too. And it really had a ripple effect in his family as well.
Interesting.
Erin, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your story with us and your message to the world.
Thank you so much for having me, guys. I really appreciate it.